guys, and welcome to this week's video. This week I was sent a bunch of art supplies to try out from Arteza. They sent me some of these cold press watercolor pads and these watercolor pencils. Now I'm going to be honest, I've never really tried watercolor pencils before, but I have tried a lot of watercolor paper. So I'm pretty sure I can give a bit of feedback when it comes to the actual paper. As for the pencils, I don't think they are for me, but after watching this review, maybe you guys can give me pointers and let me know what you think about these products. But before we dive into the review, I thought I'd let you know that Arteza, they haven't sponsored this video, but they have sent me these art products and given me a discount code for you guys to use. The coupon is 10% off and the coupon code is Sophiralou1, which is valid until the 20th of April 2019. So you have about a month if you are interested in to use this code. And currently the products that they have sent me are on sale on both their US and UK websites. Instead of being the normal price for the sketchbook pads of free of being $59.97, they are currently $20.99 on the US website, and on the UK website, instead of being $49.94, the watercolor pads are £17.48 for a pack of free 30 sheets. So that's 90 sheets of paper and 300 GSM. I really do like the sketchbooks, but I'll go deep dive into that later on. As well, the links that are down below, they are affiliate links, so if you do purchase anything off the website, I do get a small commission of that price. I'll always be honest if I have affiliate links down below of any products. They do help me out as an artist, but don't feel pressured in any way, shape or form to purchase any of these products. I want to be honest when it comes to any art reviews in any way, shape or form, and I want you guys to know that I will always give my honest feedback when it comes to products. So let's deep dive into these products. So they sent me this pack of 3 watercolor pads, which are known as their premium pads. They are cold pressed paper, spiral bound. They say that they're ideal for watercolor techniques and mixed media. It is textured paper because it is cold press. Now, if you're ever wondering what's the difference between cold press and hot press, cold press tends to be textured and hot press tends to be very smooth. Personally, at the moment, I'm really into hot press paper because it does take longer to layer. However, I feel that my colours always look a little bit more vibrant on hot press paper than they do on cold press. Cold press can take a lot of water, so it can be a while before there's a bit of warping. So, going into this review, before we do anything, we always swatch. Swatching is super important when it comes to any product, because I feel like that's how you get a best feel for the actual paper, for how the product behaves, for what you're looking at in any way, shape or form. So I did swatch the watercolor pencils, and essentially I watched a few watercolor pencil videos because I'm not massively familiar with the medium. I know that if you press quite hard, it can be difficult for the water to lift off from that texture, but if you press quite lightly, the water will flow a little bit better and help blend that product a lot better as well. So using these techniques, I swatched the pencils and seen how smooth they were after the water reacted with the pencil. Personally, I don't think watercolor pencils are for me, and I've never tried them before, so it was interesting to try out these products. And I do think that if you are looking into stepping into watercolors and can be a little bit hesitant about using them, this could be the happy medium between them. I do know people who successfully use watercolor pencils, and I do know people who successfully use watercolor pans and paints, and a lot of people have mixed ideas when it comes to watercolor pencils. The problem I have with watercolor pencils is that if you press too hard and then you're using your water on top, you can't lift that colour off. It's less forgiving, I personally think, than actual watercolor paints. And sometimes when you're painting the watercolor when you're painting your water on top, you can find that the actual texture of the crayons is still there. Now, some people may really like that texture. Personally, I really like my watercolors to be smooth and the color to lay down smooth, and I did have this issue when it came to the actual paints themselves. Well, watercolor pencils. I found that when I was layering my colours and layering my colours on top, sometimes my colours were going a little bit too opaque because I was pressing too lightly with a pencil, and then when I was pressing too harshly, I was having this sort of issue. Maybe this is because I'm inexperienced with these watercolour pencils, but that's why I tried out a few things to see whether or not it was just me, or whether or not it was the actual pencils, or whether or not it's just the way that they behave. After looking at a few videos, I noticed that this is the way that it behaves. So personally for me, these watercolor pencils may not be for me, but for other people this may be the gateway in between watercolors and colored pencils, in case you are interested. These are currently on sale on the websites as well. Yet again, there is links down below. Now going to the actual paper. Personally, I really did like these sketchbooks. I'm a big fan of watercolor paper at the moment. I'm using my watercolors a lot more, mainly because I like the freedom that it gives me, and I think it's quite a forgiving medium as well. I have been trying out a few different watercolor pads, and currently at the moment my all-time favorite is the Aquafine Smooth, just because it's a hot press paper that I really do enjoy. But these were pretty good. I mean, the paper quality was really nice. It was thick paper. It didn't buckle unless I put an awful lot of water on, which can happen. Yet again, if you layer too much water, your water paper is going to buckle, but that can be remedied quite easily. When you are looking at watercolor paper and finding out what's for you, sometimes sketchbook pads can be really helpful in that department, because I sometimes find that when I want to do a big piece but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it, I use sketchbook paper, or I use my sketchbooks to map out what I'm going to do, and this could be the gateway in between you finding out whether or not watercolors are for you. Now, in its sale price, I feel that these are fantastic. At its original price, I don't think I would be happy with that. I mean, in the UK website, for the pack of 3 at its normal price, that's 50 quid for 3 books. And as an artist who's always on a budget, that's personally quite expensive for me. But at its sale price, which is currently just under 18 quid, I think that's a really good price, but quite frankly, I think it's a bit of a steal for 3 sketchbooks. I don't think I would pay its original price personally, and it's the same with the watercolor pencils. I personally would not pay for that, but at its sale price that it currently is, I think it's an excellent price. You know, I can't fault that. I do think that Arteza art supplies are good into a gateway of learning and understanding. From what I've tried so far, a lot of the stuff I have tried is the watercolor stuff. I personally really love their watercolor brushes. Like, out of all the products I've tried, the Arteza watercolor brushes are my favorite. I really like them. I think they're beautiful quality, and I've really enjoyed using them. And second in that placement would be the watercolor paper. I think it's a really beautiful watercolor paper, and I cannot fault that. I just think that sometimes it can be on the little bit more expensive on side in that department, simply because as an artist who is on a budget, I would not have been able to afford some of these art supplies at their original price. In the sale price, definitely I could afford them, but in their original price, I personally couldn't. So as an artist on a budget, they might not be for you. From what I have seen and from the reviews I have looked at, their gouache looks pretty good. I've not tried their gouache. From what I've seen in reviews though, a lot of people have been like really complimenting the gouache. Yet again, the watercolor brushes, cannot fault them. I think they're really beautiful. I don't think the watercolor pencils are personally for me, and I have tried their fine liners, the water-based fine liners, their water-based woodless crayons, which were not for me either, and the watercolor brushes. Well, they weren't watercolor brushes, they were they were brush pens which were water based, so I kind of used them like watercolors, simply because all the products that they have given me so far have been water based, and I have been able to trial that and give my honest opinion on that department. So long story short, can I recommend both of these products? Yes and no. While I do feel like the watercolor pencils were really nice to use, they were really soft, triangular so that they didn't roll around too often, and the colours were really bright and vibrant, they personally were not for me. I personally did not get on with them. But just because I didn't get on with them doesn't mean that another person isn't going to enjoy using these products. The watercolor sketchbooks I can recommend. I think they were really nice quality paper, and there isn't that many watercolor sketchbooks around. I personally can always find watercolor pads, but actual sketchbooks can be quite difficult to find. I do think that the fact that the spiral bound means that you're able to tear out pages easy. I don't recommend tearing out pages in a sketchbook, but it can be something that you can use, and the fact that the paper is really good quality, I can recommend that product. I do personally feel that the price point on some of these products can be a little bit high, especially at the original price point, but the products are really nice and I cannot fault that. At its current price in the sale, I can 100% recommend them. I do think that they are good to try out, and if you are not sure whether or not watercolors for you, maybe watercolor pencils could be the happy medium. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below if there's any art products that you have always tried and that you absolutely love and that you can't live without. Also, if there's any art products that you guys can recommend to anyone in the comments section. I think it's always good that we can share products and our personal thoughts on them, and that's what I really love about YouTube. If you're ever unsure on a product, there is hundreds of reviews on there, and if there isn't a review, maybe it's worth you trying out a review or asking one of your favourite artists if they can review a product for you. Sometimes products do work in your favour and sometimes they don't, and I think it's always good to try out products if you can and see whether or not they work for you and your style. I do know there are products that personally don't work for me, but that's my own personal opinion and that's my own personal thoughts. If you are interested in the products, as I mentioned earlier, there are affiliate links down below and a discount code which is valid until the 20th of April 2019 if you are interested in purchasing these products. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hope you do lots of art, and as always folks, stay creative.